Hey beautiful, welcome to another episode of the Big Fat Talk Show. I'm extremely excited to be starting off another season of the show. With me today is Emma Kirungu. She's a mother and she's leading the conversation on endometriosis in Kenya right now. If you don't know what endometriosis is, or you know what endometriosis is, one thing is for sure is we need to have more conversations on endometriosis. Also with me is Dr. Mutindi Kakuti. She's a gynecologist with a private practice in Nairobi, and she's going to be shedding some more light on this and more issues on infertility. Hi ladies.
Hi. Hi.
How are you? Thank you so much for coming onto the show and for sharing your stories, and we're just going to dive right in. Emma, I've read your stories. I've been following your story online as well, and tell us, what's your story? What's your story as Emma and your story with endometriosis?
Thank you for having me on the show. Endometriosis is something very passionate to me. I am a wife and a mother, and I have battled endometriosis for most of my adult life. I was first diagnosed at the age of 23, and it's a condition I have managed to live with. It is not a death sentence, but it's a very painful condition. Some of the symptoms of endometriosis include a very painful period, chronic pain around the pelvic and lower back. You also have ladies who bleed for very long, very heavy and long menses, and also chronic fatigue, constipation. Some have diarrhea, some have nausea. So it presents itself in different ways, and yeah, so it's a conversation we need to have and raise awareness about endometriosis.
Okay.
Yes.
So when did it get you? When did it start? After you had children or before?
Before.
Before, but you still managed to have children with endometriosis.
Yes.
My layman's thinking is, if you've got endometriosis, it's extremely hard to have babies.
Yes.
So
that's right. It is hard to have children because one of the effects of endometriosis is infertility. But I managed to get a good doctor who has worked with me through the journey of fertility treatment, and I was able to conceive 2 children.
Okay.
It was very hard, but it is possible.
Yes.
Yes. And also endometriosis affects, endometriosis is a disorder where the endometrial wall grows outside of your uterus, and it can grow anywhere within the pelvic region, sometimes in your tummy. So for mine, it was found around my tummy and my rectum area. Okay. So it affects, some have endometriosis around their ovaries, around the fallopian tubes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the degree varies.
But Emma, I'd like to talk about how it affected your life.
Yes.
What would you say, how did it affect your intimacy? How did it affect your being a mom? How did it affect you going to work?
Yes.
This is what I would like to hear how you're going through it, so that myself, the viewers, we can also learn how to get through this horrible disease.
Endometriosis has shown its ugly face for me one too many times. I've had long nights in and out of hospital. I have crawled on the floor, writhing in pain. I have had to go through rounds of fertility treatment trying to conceive. But with a good support system and proper management, you can manage the condition. Women with endometriosis sometimes have very painful sexual intercourse. Some have pain when they're urinating or having a bowel movement. But with proper diet and a good lifestyle, you are able to manage. And also support from doctors. You can be on endometriosis treatment, like I am. So you're able to manage. Some months are good, some are bad. But with endometriosis, we say that we also must spread the yellow. Yellow is the color of endometriosis. Okay. You must spread the hope.
All
yes,
right.
Yes.
Great. So, endometriosis is a conversation that's coming up now. And but what I find lacking, and I read in your story and it inspired me. So recently I was diagnosed with endometriosis.
Okay.
So they found the growth, and it's not as big as many women I understand are.
Yes.
But the pain and the heavy bleeding has been unbearable for me. I mean, it's sometimes I can't handle the pain during my menses, and I have to work from home or not work at all. So it gets really, really painful. And what I was craving to hear from other women is, how are you dealing with this? You know, the doctors have told me what I need to do. The doctors have told me what I need to expect. But you know, when people share stories, that's the beauty about sharing stories. Is, oh, like somebody told me, you know what I do? I use a hot water bottle on my abdomen. I was like, yes. And then I got a hot water bottle, and it helped so like the help was so huge. And so those are the kind of tips. Maybe if you've lived with it for a while, you've tackled it for a long time. There are ladies like me and many others who are watching right now who've just come into this. Tell us a few tips of how we could go about the pain, and you know.
For me, one thing I've realized with endometriosis is that I manage endometriosis with my diet. Because endometriosis is said to be a hormonal based disease, and so the foods we eat feed into our hormones. So some of the things I've had to eliminate include wheat. I love my red meat, but every time I have red meat, I know I will have a bad cycle. So I have managed with diet. I've also managed by taking my painkillers given by my doctor. I also do a lot of physical activity. I walk when I can. I have also started going to the gym, because when you're physically active, it helps with the pain. Okay. Yes, I've managed it just purely on lifestyle.
All right.
Yes.
And of course, painkillers when needed.
When needed,
guessing, right?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what about in terms of intimacy? If it hurts, are they okay? First, before I even go there, your husband. I want to touch on this because I think for all fertility related issues, especially those that cause this much pain as well, there's issue of the fear of, will my marriage break?
Yes.
Will my boyfriend or husband leave me? This is a problem. Your husband, he's the man who's been with you from day one.
Yes.
He's the father of your children, and he's there till today.
Yes.
What's his name?
Ken.
Ken. Shout out to Ken for being there. Yes. You talked about a support system, and I'm sure Ken plays a very big part in this. And it's not just that; it's your bosses, it's your moms. Because when you're in pain, you have a low temperament as well. You're angry. There's hormonal, so you're depressed sometimes. You feel sad. You feel happy. So your support system was made up of who, you could say? And what can you say about it, so that those who are watching can create the support systems around the people who need them?
Okay. Allow me to say this first. You know, menstruation is a taboo, especially in this part of Africa. We don't talk about it. So for me, at the beginning, endometriosis made me go into seclusion because I didn't know who to talk to. And I remember I was telling Dr. Tindi earlier that in school, sometimes the teachers or the matrons could think Emma is having an abortion because you're in so much pain and you're really bleeding. Some doctors that time thought she's just trying to get attention.
Overreacting to the pain.
So also my mother didn't understand the condition. So at first I didn't feel like I had the support that I needed. So I went into seclusion. And then later, when we started having these conversations, I've had a great support system. Now my family understands the condition. They know when Emma is having a bad month. Also, our employers, we need to dialogue with them. We also need to dialogue with government because we need to bring out endometriosis and talk about it, because we have girls in rural Kenya. Some have very painful period. They're not able to go to school, but they can't talk about this condition.
First, it's period.
It's period. We don't talk about it.
It's extremely painful, and I'm over bleeding. And then here's a teacher who thinks I'm having an abortion.
An abortion,
There's this whole stigma that comes with that.
And then the mother doesn't understand it. And they think, Jane is going to school with her period. Why can't you go, Emma? You see?
So I totally relate to that because I was just like, all of a sudden my period, I never had it since I was very young. It happened very recently.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, wait, I used to deal with my periods, okay?
Yes.
First because of polycystic ovarian syndrome, I hardly had them, they were there coming. Then they started coming regularly, but now the pain and so what's happening? And then I couldn't tell people I'm this much pain. I'm sitting in the office thinking, how am I going to tell anyone I can't be in the office right now?
Yeah.
So that stigma was there.
Yes, yes.
Like, would people think I'm overreacting? Maybe
Yes.
some did as I left the office. I don't know, but
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So a support system is extremely
Is
important.
important, yes.
As hard as it is to get at home, it's easier than to get in the office.
Yes.
So I really think this conversation needs to take place in the office as well.
Yes.
Because women, apart from just maternity and all these other issues, there's also this.
There's also endometriosis,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
some mornings you can't just go to work. Yeah.
So how many children do you have?
I have 2.
Okay,
Yes.
so and when were you diagnosed with it, or how early did the signs start for you?
My signs started at 17, so my period started late.
Okay.
You know, by Form 1, most girls already
Yes,
have their period. For me, mine was late.
Okay.
But because I didn't want to look weird, every time we opened school, I bought a packet of sanitary towels. And when I thought it was the menstruation season, you know, in school you have this season where at the end of the month everyone is. So I also wore my pad because I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to feel like any other girl. So at 17, my period finally came. And it was nothing like I had anticipated. It was very painful. I had very heavy bleeding, and I was confused. I didn't know what this was, because all this time I used to pretend. Now it's here. And I didn't know who to tell and what to say. Yeah.
It must have been extremely traumatizing. And then, like you said, it's not, I mean, now we can talk about cancer when you have it, and people can relate to it and say, I'm sorry, how can I help you? But when it's bleeding from your vagina, it's not something that you can talk about as openly, you know? And when it's now not just bleeding, it's more, it's pain, it's the emotions that come with it and everything. But here you are at 17 with this, dealing with it from 17. But you've lived with it for all these years. You're working. You're going on with your life. You've got 2 beautiful children, and you look as amazing as you do. So there's hope to all the ladies out there that it's not the end of the world, no matter how devastating it is.
It is
You've
not a death
through
sentence.
a lifestyle change, through how you eat, through your exercise, through the things that you know, your lifestyle, pain management, and most importantly, treatment from a professional doctor. Don't try and do this at home. I tried for a while because I didn't know what I had. So I'm like overdosing on painkillers, you know, and hot water bottles and everything. By the time I went and they did the scan and everything, they said, hey, here you go. And I was like, okay, you know. And so that's what I think a lot of women love to do, is talk to other women and then take what they have and then just do it yourself at home. But when it comes to a lot of issues within, especially our pelvic area, my take home from your conversation is go see a doctor.
Go see a
get
doctor.
medical, professional treatment for your, no matter how, I mean, you may 5 women having endometriosis, but the treatment could be different because of various issues.
And also endometriosis is different for every woman.
For every woman, exactly. So don't take what Emma's worked for Emma will not work for me. So
see a doctor.
Treated. And talk to people. That's, this barrier for menses is an African thing. It's an Indian thing. It's a every household thing. And the thing here is that it starts with you. Break that conversation in your home so that your daughter, your sister, your auntie, everyone has a better life, and it goes on that way. So if we say, oh, you know, I'll do it later, start that conversation now. Once menses is not a taboo anymore, this kind of conversations will be easier. Thank you so much for Emma for being here.
Thank you.
I mean, I really needed to hear a lot of what you say, and I'm sure a lot of viewers needed to as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Pain is not normal. If you have excruciating pain that is not normal, you must see a doctor. And don't try and self-medicate. And also we need mothers to speak because their daughters are suffering.
Hey beautiful. So this has been an amazing season. We've had amazing guests on the show talking about amazing topics. So most episodes are in 2 parts. You've just watched the first one. Subscribe now and keep out for the second episode. Much love and God bless.